My autistic 4.5-year-old had always been pretty nice. Like aggression had never been an issue. Self-harm had been, but aggression hadn't been. And then we moved to a new house and he was having a lot of regressions in general. And he started having aggression towards the dog and towards his twin brother. And so obviously we really quickly wanted to address what was happening and teach him how to appropriately respond when he's having big feelings. But it's a little bit harder to do when a child is autistic. It takes longer to learn things. So I thought that this video might be a helpful time for us to share what we do to teach our son, to discipline our son without punishments. We wanted to find a way to support him and not scare him. So we talked to his behavioral therapist and she shared some advice that completely changed the way we approach things. It's been really helpful to us, and I hope that it's helpful to you too. If you're new here, I am Katie. I'm a mom of 4, including an autistic 4-year-old, and I share content all about our journey and ways that we're finding to support him better. So subscribe to the channel so you can follow along on the journey. Right. So as I shared in that initial story, it's obviously very important to correct that kind of behavior, right? It's not acceptable to be aggressive towards your brother or towards an animal. And so even though he's autistic, like we are responsible for teaching him. And that question of how to teach him comes majorly into play because I know that he learns differently. That's the main thing I've learned throughout this whole process is everything that he's learning, he's taking on at a different pace and learning in a different way. So how do we teach him? So when these aggressions were happening, we went to our behavioral therapist to try to determine how to better support him and teach him. And something she shared really resonated, which is that for autistic kids, it might take 5 times as many repetitions to learn as it does for their neurotypical peers. So something we were doing when it wasn't time to go outside, but he wanted to go outside and go on the swings in our backyard, we would say, no, the outside's not available. And most of the time we would stop him and redirect him. But there was a couple times that we just like let him go do it because it was more trouble than it's worth. Just let him do it. But that resets the whole cycle. And so it's actually going to take us 5 more times when we're not consistent. So just as like for autistic individuals, the routines are so important to them and how their brains function. It's the same thing with discipline. It's like you have to be super consistent. And so that is when I get into the actual strategies that we've done, that's one of the key things is that it is always consistent. It's not something where the behavior can ever just like be let go because otherwise that is more confusing to the autistic brain. It's going to be more confusing to your child, and therefore it's going to take longer to learn the expected behavior. And then my approach as a mother and our approach as a family has been about what discipline truly is. And the word has a weird connotation, I think, in our society, but it actually really is about teaching, right? And so we think of like being self-disciplined means that we've trained ourselves to do the things that we ought to be doing. And so if discipline is focused on teaching, it's not focused on punishment. So punishment being something where there's an intentional cause of either pain or discomfort happening in order to teach. We, if at all possible, try to avoid that in favor of other ways of teaching him because ultimately they are more effective for him and it is done in a way that causes him a lot less pain. And we don't want to, it's hard enough, right? It's hard enough for him to understand what we're asking of him, for him to communicate. Like we don't want to make it even more painful. We just want to support him. So there's 2 main parts of our discipline strategy. So the first one is prevention. And so it's focusing on what the routine is and what the expectations are to hopefully prevent the meltdowns and the behavior in the first place, right? The things that are leading up to him being aggressive towards brother or dog. So that looks like visuals, right? And so I have created a visual schedule for him. I've cut out a bunch of pictures and Velcroed, regular things that he does. And so I have, okay, it's a 1, 2, 3 board in this case. So first we do this, then this, then this. And that has really helped. I also have a available, not available weight board, because that was one of the trickiest things for him. Is if he really wants an object and it's not available, it's like hard for him to compute and understand why. So I have actually take the picture and put it on the red X that's not available, and that has really helped just with communicating, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what to expect, and it helps prevent those meltdowns in the first place. I do actually have, while I'm talking about visuals, I am working on a full mini course to sell a packet of visuals and do a course on how to use them. But that's not quite done yet. Let me know if you're interested in something like that, what you would want to see in that. But I do have 3 free visuals to get you started, and that is in the link in the description below. Okay, but moving on. So prevention strategies. So there's also practicing. So there's the visuals where we show them the schedule, and then we practice the things that we know are going to be tough behaviors. So we practice the expected behaviors, which might look like, so for example, I shared in my video on elopement, I practice with him stop, go, wait, come to mommy. And that is a huge thing in teaching him how to follow those directions when we're at home or out and about and keep him safe. The other thing in the prevention category is really taking note of him and watching him clearly so that I can recognize when he's starting to get overwhelmed. And so I have my calm down, so it's like a how are you feeling board, and then right next to it is a 4 calm down strategy board. I usually, with where he's at right now, I give him 2 options on the board, so there's 4 total options. My older son can do it on his own, and it's actually been really great. It's helping my other children too to be able to do some cool down strategies. But for my autistic son, I'll give him 2, like, oh, do you want to do breathing or squeezes? And it's able to help him so that he can choose one of those things and he calms down with me. So all of that is in the prevention category, teaching him how to better manage those big feelings and for me to recognize it so we're not getting to the point that we're choosing aggression instead. Okay, so then there's part 2, which is what we do when something actually happens. And this is where we keep in mind that it's all focused on the discipline, meaning teaching. Okay, so how can I teach him? So I've been a teacher for almost 10 years, and I've learned that the way that the human brain works is we are most able to learn when we fully active, when all the levels of the brain are fully active, prefrontal cortex is on. But when we're having big emotions, our brain goes down into the emotional state, and we get this as adults too. Oftentimes when our kids are upset, we're pulled down to the emotional state, and we're often not making the best choices either. And then there's all the way down at the bottom of the brain. And if real panic is happening, then the brain can go all the way down to fight or flight mode. And that is really where there's, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Those are like the 4 things that the brain is capable of doing, and there's no learning that's going to be happening. So emotional state's not a great place to be learning. Certainly survival mode is not a good place to be learning. So one of the things you have to do is actually bring your child back out of the fight or flight or emotional state. And so that's where, even when he's done something he shouldn't do, we do go ahead and do a calm down routine first before then addressing it. And then we always will address it. So say he's gotten upset, he wanted a preferred item, wasn't available, he goes and hits his brother. I will help him do the calm down, and then I will get down on his level, and the physical touch, and for him, he's sensory seeking, so having actual physical pressure helps. So I'll have his shoulders, and I'll be talking to him in a nice, it's like a firm but neutral tone. Because with him, if I do a big, firm tone, he actually responds, like he'll start laughing, kind of as, I don't know if it's a defense mechanism. Like he doesn't quite know how to respond. It's like, oh, something's happening. It's a big, noise. And so for him, he's much more able to learn if I really keep it calm, neutral, and very, very clear. So I'll say, hey, we hit brother. That gives owies. You gave brother owies. Do we hit brother? No. And he says no with me. And then he'll go and apologize to his brother. He is verbally able to do that. I know some kids you might have to do it in a different way if they're non-speaking, but he'll go and give his brother a hug, and then we do something nice for his brother to make up for it. If calming down isn't really happening, I will utilize, it's more of like a time in than a time out, but we'll go sit on the stairs and kind of cool down together. But whatever the case may be, the teaching isn't happening in the midst of the meltdown, right? And I think I should do a video sometime on meltdowns versus tantrums because that's a whole other topic. But basically, the main thing is it's being addressed. Like it never just goes like, oh, he's able to do that. And we just like, oh, a bummer, we move on. Like we have to address it. But for him, and the way he's learning and the way his brain is connecting, doing some kind of big like punishment, I know we're taking things away or whatever, that would actually connect less in his brain than just the simple explaining and having him apologize and then taking the time out slash time in if we need to. And we always try it again. So whatever the thing is, if he hit or if he, went to try to go outside when we said not to, we'll, after he's calm, we'll try the listening skill again. I'll redirect to show him, oh, if you're angry, you can hit the couch or you can hit the wall or you can push on the wall, right? Or if he's running off when we told him to stop, we'll practice that skill again. So whatever it is, it's always like reiterating, oh, this is actually the right thing to be doing, so that then while it takes time for him, it's still reconnecting that in his brain. It's slow going at times. I'm not going to pretend it's, this magical fix, but it has genuinely helped us a lot to try these strategies and to really know the importance of always being consistent and always following through, even when we're tired, even when we're pulled down into our emotional state. It's a tough thing, but I try to use the same techniques I'm teaching my kids, where we either take a breath or we do deep pressure squeezes or whatever it is I'm trying to tell them to do, I try to do, so that I can have all my faculties present in order to then support my children, especially my autistic son. Again, the link to the free visuals is in the description down below. I hope that sharing this strategy can help you in your journey. I know every kid has different levels of communication and you might have to adapt it for your child in your particular situation. But I hope you can gain some help from this idea. Have a wonderful week.